Shut up and sit down.
Well, they say all good things come to an end.
What's that got to do with this show?
Nice ride, it's a nice time when you're on a nice ride, riding with your best friends. Nice ride, it's a nice time when you're on a nice ride, riding with your best friends. Oh, I like to ride my bike.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Lee Grant,
Sir Ian Gibson,
Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. Want to control your destiny? Well, this little green frog once said, life's like a movie, write your own ending.
Nice ride, it's a nice time when you're on a nice ride, riding with your best friends. Nice ride, it's a nice time when you're on a nice ride, riding with your best friends.
Caller, you're on the lunch hour. Can I take your order?
Yes, I'll have a big helping of the pretentious crap.
I think I may have made a mistake.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Duren. I'm here with Lance freaking Epler.
Good afternoon, good gentlemen.
Whoa.
This is
No,
way
wait.
too...
That doesn't feel right. Okay. What's up? No, that doesn't feel right either.
Lance frickin' Hepler.
Lance frickin' Hepler.
For your listening pleasure.
For your listening displeasure.
Okay.
The one and only, Sir Ian Gibson.
I say, hey, up, how do? You're right.
Hey-o. This podcast is off the rails early.
I feel it's my duty to, just educate you guys about the subtleties of the British accents.
We don't care.
Totally dispel the myth of the upper class, Downton Abbey type of Britishness that's really
Because that's not
so prevalent these days.
That's not real.
It's not real.
Okay.
jij bent een klootzak.
Yeah, exactly.
Last but not least, Matt Lee Grant.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys looking chipper today. You're looking like maybe you guys took a double dose of caffeine or something. I don't know. Something's going on.
Good times.
I don't know.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Yes.
What you been up to, dude? You want to backpedal for
Yes.
us?
I have not been biking, even though the weather's been decent. I've been running, swimming.
So you finished the
Chasing
Dial
kids.
100,
I
that
know.
was it.
I know.
You're
I feel
done.
like that was-
Season's
That was
over.
it. Season over, like Ian said. Yeah.
I know. I really need to get on the bike because all right, today I'm going to bike. We're recording in the morning, so I got time to bike at some point today. It's
do
got to
the
be something.
flogging
I got to sneak it in. No, I can't do I got stuff this afternoon. Kids, kind of report things at school that I got to go watch this afternoon. I don't know. It's going to be a busy afternoon. So I got to get it in between now and 3. Something.
You can do it.
You can do it.
Possible.
How about you, Gibbo? What you been up to?
Me, in contrast, I've been riding my bicycle a lot.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. Last week we did a great ride with some teammates and friends from Tualatin in the Portland Metro area out east, and we went exploring in the Barton Park area to check out the race course. Rode back, it ended up being like a 70-mile day, several thousand feet of climbing, some hitters in the group, so it wasn't easy, but loads of fun.
Loads of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sunday, more shenanigans out on Salvie Island, so did the shootout there,
Oh, yeah.
which was good. Didn't get shot out this time.
One of these decades, I will join you on that
Oh,
ride.
you really should. I keep trying to push this to all of you guys, and it is a great ride.
It's
Good
just
people.
tough. It's a Sunday morning, and usually I've got like family stuff going on or kids' soccer games or chores, and I do generally ride, but it's usually not until like the later part of the day.
Yeah.
I don't know, just that's what it is.
You would crush it. It's like you think, I'm just going to sit in the bunch and save some energy here and just go for a good ride, and then you get like within a kilometer of that final sprint, and you just get this.
Oh yeah, I know the
I
feeling.
know where you would be. Anyway, that was fun. And then on Monday we did some real bike racing down at PIR again, which was fantastic.
That is great. I have not seen any of the ride posts from Monday's PR. How did it go? I just was completely disconnected that day. I had too much going on.
It's good. I mean, the season's off to a great start. The fields are big again. There was 68, I think, so close to 70 people in our 1-2-3 field, including 10 masters, 50 plus.
That's great.
of which I beat the other 9, which was good.
Ian was like 12th overall in the 1, 2, 3
Ooh.
field.
Ian, dude, that's fantastic.
Yes.
That's
He did
the
very
open
well.
field, not
Fitness
just
is there.
Right.
Yeah.
I just, it wasn't all about fitness. Lance and I were talking about this yesterday. I felt really good because it was mostly about just getting into the right part of the race at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just
it was all
positioning.
about
Yeah.
making the good decisions, I guess. So I ended up, up close to the front, which was cool for an old geezer like myself. But so many people out there. I mean, we passed the 4-5 field, and as you go by them, there's like 140 guys on the road all at one time. So it was huge.
Wow,
Actually, we passed them
sweet.
twice. It was a fast race. And then let's go. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, yesterday we went out to Dufa, Lance and I. I'll leave that to him, but it was a good day. Great day.
It looked awesome from what I saw from
It was lovely.
It was lovely.
pictures, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I scared myself. I
Oh, I was going to ask you, what gravel bike are you using?
I have a BMC, a Caius, a nice
Yeah, it's like
new
blue.
gravel. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a pretty bike. I just
It
didn't.
is pretty.
I just didn't know. I wasn't sure because you guys are on the NV
NP Mog.
Mog. Yeah.
Yeah. His bike's more of a race frame type gravel
Yeah.
bike. Not quite as much tire clearance, but a fast gravel bike.
it's good. It feels exactly like it handles and feels just like my BMC road bike. So it's easy to transition from one to the other.
I was trying to show Ian how to do the technical sections fast, like how to kind of rip through them and hop rocks and go through the water.
Go through water. I saw that
And,
clip.
Yeah, and
That was cool.
And
It's terrible.
It didn't work. I didn't help him.
For somebody who races bicycles like regularly, I'm so afraid of falling off my bike. It's stupid. It's like I go through these technical sections and I'm like,
I think that's good.
I'm going to lose so much time on Sunday in the gorge race.
We
through
reconned.
that.
Yeah, we reconned the gorge gravel race route. Is
How's
what
how's
we
the
were
weather
doing.
looking for Sunday?
It actually looks kind of terrible, to be honest with you. Not rainy, but very windy. There's possible for 20-mile-an-hour sustained winds and 40-mile-an-hour gusts on Sunday. So that could make the day
the windsurfers out at Hood River
extremely. Yeah, it
gonna be
could
out.
make it difficult.
Yeah.
So
just hide in a bunch.
if
There
you're
won't
in
be
a bunch,
There won't be a bunch.
there tends not to be as much of a bunch in gravel races, especially when one that has a technical spicy section in the first 10 miles, it will break it up. And Ian will get dropped there. And then we'll have to grind to get back on.
Yes.
So, but that's okay.
Grinding's what I do. I'm
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Cool.
Ugh.
That was good.
How about you, Up?
That day yesterday was just fantastic. The weather was gorgeous out there yesterday.
How many miles
Yeah.
do you guys do?
We rode 47. We did the small course. We didn't want to. The small course is 47 miles. The medium course is 65, 62. And the long course is 95 or something like that.
What are you guys doing on Sunday?
Ian's doing the medium course. I have downgraded myself to the small course. So I am just.
Are you okay?
I just don't feel good.
You're sick?
I'm not sick. I just don't feel right.
Like yesterday's ride, you were like, something's.
Yeah, it felt great for 10 or 12 miles, but then Ian just kept dropping me and having to wait for me. And, that's one of those things. But yeah, yesterday was fantastic. We had a very lovely, wonderful day
Getting
out
enough
there.
iron in your system?
I take an iron supplement every day. I'm vegan, and so I know that I don't get enough iron in my system just through my diet unless I'm eating dark, greasy, lean vegetables a lot. And so I take an iron supplement every day. That's one of the supplements I take. So I'm pretty sure that I do, but it's just one of those things where you go through a lull. I'm getting plenty of sleep.
Would you
Okay,
ever
good.
consider maybe just taking in a little bit of fish or something like that right now? Because I know that you don't want to eat the red meat, but what about some salmon or some tuna or
But
something
would that
like
really make a difference for me?
Maybe, I don't know, or maybe you have a little bit of red meat, just out of curiosity, just for sake of.
Let's just go kill an animal right now. I think Jake's dog looked at me wrong.
Lola for dinner.
But no, seriously, what if you aren't a vegan because of ethical reasons?
I'm
It's
not.
more of a health choice for you.
Correct.
Just for sake of experimentation, would you try that?
I do not think this is a diet thing.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you just too much.
It's just like
Life caught up with you.
yes. I think I'm just like in
Stressed.
a downturn. You know,
A little overtraining.
Probably
maybe, or-
bounce.
I could be a little. Well, I mean, I had an extremely good winter of training.
I mean, we are getting close to the end of April. How many miles have you already logged this year?
Oh, that's a good question.
And how many hours have you logged this year? I am going to guess that it's a pretty substantial number.
Somewhere in the millions.
207 hours, 3,400 miles. So not a ton, but a lot. Most of that was in the first 3 months.
I wish we could get a collective. I'm sorry, Matt. A collective view of like what zones were you in for all of that?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
All zone 5. Is there zone 8? Is there zone 8?
I don't know.
Would you consider taking it easy the next couple of days going into Sunday?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you someone who wants to be fit, healthy, and happy? And what if I told you could get your dream body by simply just listening to a podcast? I'm Josh.
And I'm KG, and we are the hosts of the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast.
Listen, we get it. Fitness isn't easy. Carbs, no carbs.
Just stop, okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's why we made this podcast. We get straight to the facts so you can become your best you.
So the way to check us out is click the link in the show notes or search Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, that's what I actually tried to do this week.
Like flogging tonight.
Well, Jake wants me to go to the flogging. Ian wants me to go to the flogging. I think I should take the day off because I'm not.
You
That's
can go
what
ride
Friday
with me.
and
You wanna ride
Saturday
with
is
me?
for.
That's
You want to ride with me?
Maybe I'll come ride with you instead.
We will go easy.
Okay.
It's probably the easiest ride you've ever done. It'll be great.
Lance, you can go hammer the D group.
They would hate me.
They would hate you.
That brings up a good thing because Friday I did this ride with Ian's group. We did this Tualatin ride where we pre-rode the Barton Park course. That was part of the reason why we did it. And I showed up and there were 6 of us on the ride. And as soon as I saw the other 5, I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
I was the weakest person in the bunch. And coincidentally, what happened? They had to wait for me a few times. It really wasn't that bad. You probably didn't notice, but man, when you're getting tailed off the back and you're not like grinding back on for a longer climb, you're like, oh my god.
This is the thing. I think you just had
me.
like 2 rides where you've been riding with strong people, and that's it. I don't think that you're off at all. I bet if you looked at your numbers, you're probably good.
Yeah, they might be.
Who knows?
But
Find out.
It's just affected my head.
Yep.
You know what I mean? What were we going to say, Ian?
Oh, just that I should not interrupt. You should. I was just going to say, looking back to that ride, we went up Eden Wall, which is like a third of a mile. This is the big feature of our road race we're going to have in a couple of weeks.
Correct.
And I'm like, I'm going to go for this. And I got on it and I got a personal best. I did it in like under a minute 40 at 514 watts, something like that. Greg Steele comes past me in the drops.
He freaking drilled it.
Look at his file later. He's like 670 watts
for a minute and a half.
For a minute and a half.
I can also hit 600
Oh my
watts. But just
Good
not,
for you, Greg.
Not a minute and a half.
Pretty
No,
awesome.
Anyway.
So contrast that where I rode with this group on Friday and kind of was the weak link, right? Even though I could stay with them, and if it's going downhill, I have no problem, right? But where I'm like the weak link. Saturday, I went and did the Goodbye to Cameron ride out in the gorge from Hood River to the Dalles. And I showed up on that ride, and I was the person that when I showed up, I realized these people aren't going to like me because I don't.
You got a little
Everybody
get up and
hates
go.
I don't fit with this group very well. So I was trying to be like really chill and really calm because I was one of the stronger people on the ride, and I didn't want to be a jerk. But you could see like people go crestfallen when I drove into the parking lot. I'm like, oh crap.
Is that asshole?
Exactly. It's like, oh, this ride just changed. Hepler showed up. And nobody, of course, nobody said anything, and everybody was very cool.
I would have said something.
It was all very good, but you could feel it, like, okay.
That's how I feel when Chris Hannell shows up to a race. Oh, shit.
Yeah, right.
Damn it.
It's like, okay, he's
going to be a crappy
he's gonna
day.
go, and it's going to be hard. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the rides for the week for me.
That's good.
Jake, you got a back pedal?
Yeah, actually, I've been riding my bike outside.
Yeah, you have.
A little bit. I finally dusted off the old gravel bike and got it up to being ride worthy again, and took it for a little spin on Sunday, which was really nice to just kind of go outside and be on dirt. I haven't done that since I don't know, September of 2024, many millennia ago, which that's how it feels. But anyway, went to the ride, and it was fantastic. It was actually on Easter Sunday, and it was funny. I did have one little issue while I was out there, and this it's perfect, but I'm glad it happened then and not on another night. You're going to go for a bike ride, and everything's tuned. You like shifting, everything's fine. I leave my house, and Matt will know this, or you guys all know this. Like, I can literally get to Matt's house almost without having to pedal very much.
Yes, it's all
because
downhill.
it's a big, giant ass steep downhill. And I'm starting to go down. I'm shifting down and flying downhill. And I get down to about the cul-de-sac to go to shift back up. No shifting back up. The left lever, the CR2032 battery, dead.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang it. So I pulled over, and I'm like, I know I have one in my bag. Sure enough, I did. And, you pull back the hood, and there's that little battery door, and you can usually put that battery in there because it's almost the size of a quarter, and turn that. It would not turn for nothing. So I'm trying all these different little things and all this other stuff. I'm stuck, and I have a 46 tooth up front, and I have a 10 tooth in the back. That's my gearing combination that I'm in.
You're in the 10, of course. You were
Rode
going downhill.
all the way back up to my house.
How did you even do that?
I don't know how you did
One
that.
pedal stroke at a time. It was like,
that seems impossible.
It happened.
You're like 900 watts, 0. 900 watts.
No, seriously, if you went and looked at the profile, it probably was about that. It was just bonkers. But I made it back up there, and I'm like, all right, this is going to be a fun little workout. Just make it happen. Just get back up to the top and just go up there. Sure enough, I made it. And here's the cool part: I didn't have to clip out or stop. I made it all the way back up, all the way back up to the top.
I can barely make it up this hill with all my gears, every one of them. I really only use one. I use the tiniest gears possible, and I'm still like, struggling.
Probably stretch your chain out about an inch.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, got up there, changed the battery out, went up to the ride, and it was fantastic. So, but anyway, I'm supposed to be at my in-laws' house at 4:30. I was coming off of the dike at, I think it was like 4:07, and I still had to ride all the way home. I get home, and I think it was 4:22. I was booking it to get home, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be there. It's a 5-minute drive away. Thankfully, it's not very far. I was showered and out the door in less than 2 minutes, and I just hammered the gas pedal down and flew over there. I showed up 1 minute late, and that was only because some jackholes were in front of me going slow on Easter Sunday. But man, it was an interesting ride. But anyway, great to be back on there. Did go out and do the Tuesday night gravel ride. Did that for the first time in forever in a day, and we had a good group. I think we ended up having a total of 13 people, including myself, which was a lot of fun. And everybody was, well behaved on the Heritage Trail. There was one jackhole going the other way, walking and jogging or something like that, yelling at people.
That was me. Yeah, that was me.
I think somebody referred to him as Captain Anabolic in one of the ride things. But anyway, I've probably got it somewhere on video. I should probably pull that up and post it for people just to see how much of an idiot some people can be. But anyway, we did the ride, and I felt really good.
Oh, good.
It was surprising to me that I felt as good as I did. We went relatively hard, kind of going out to the first regroup before we do the descent down to 3rd Street, not super hard, not as hard as I normally do. I'm like, all right, well, that's good because I'll maybe save a little bit of gas for the more difficult parts of it. We got up onto the dike, and we open it up like we do, and I was close. I took my pole and then kind of, cycle through, and we kind of just worked through it, and everybody was pushing really hard. Paul was taking some strong pulls, and a few other people showed up, were taking some strong pulls. And then slowly but surely, it started to kind of thin out just a little bit. And we get to the section where I take my next pull, and we were, where the first bridge is, once you kind of go down, it takes the little hard left turn and kicks back up. That's when I started my turn. It was just before that turn and little kick up. And I'm like, right, but this is the perfect place to, create some separation. And I've kind of laid it down, got over the bridge, and looked back, and I think it was just Paul with me, maybe one other person at that point in time. And so I just kept pushing a little bit harder, and Paul was right there, tucked in on my wheel, and rode for a little bit longer than I probably wanted to, knowing that Paul's going to probably just crush it. And sure enough, Paul came bolting around me. I'm like, if I don't jump on his wheel right now, it's over. He's Mr. Captain Solo laying down his watts because Paul's freaking strong as well. Oh no. I immediately jumped on his wheel, and if there was anybody behind me, I didn't look, because if I did, I probably would have gotten dropped. They got kicked out, and it was just myself and Paul, and he was trying to drop me like a bad habit. And I was just like, just keep holding on to his wheel, keep holding on to his wheel, stay right here tucked in. And he pulled for a good chunk of time too, and I was able to come around him at the end and beat him in the sprint. He gave up, and I was able to ride away from him. I'm like, all right, did he give that to me? Was he going as hard as he could? Who cares? You beat Paul. That's awesome. So I'm sure if he really, really wanted to, he could have hurt me much sooner and broke away because, he's a strong kid. But that was a vote of confidence for me. I was pretty happy about that. And riding back, it was another, strong little finish. We were, kind of coming back into the park, and how it kind of all kicks up. I was able to hang with Paul there too. There's myself and one of our other teammates, and we finished it out. So
fantastic.
Sounds like an ominous sign of things to come this summer in some of these group rides.
Yeah, I did have a slight derailleur hanger issue. Kind of got bumped a little bit when I was going over the bridge. Kind of bumped it. I don't know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I had to stop a couple times, and then I kind of did take it easy getting home. But for the 2 hours before that happened, my normalized power was 306.
Oh, wow.
So not too bad for a 2 hour ride.
That's
feeling pretty good. And then we did the flogging ride, last week on the Thursday. And again, felt pretty good there too. I actually did ride with the B group on that one. And it's not because I didn't think I could ride with the A, because I think I probably could have hung with them just fine. There were some strong people in there. Probably wouldn't have mixed it up for the front, but rode with the Bs just because there were some guys that I hadn't ridden with them forever. I'm like, I kind of want to ride with you guys. This is going to be fun. And jumped in there and had a good time. And we were going up the Hawkinson crawl. And I remember everybody was kind of taking some turns, and then Dan Beal kind of jumped around, and Dan Beal was going super hard. And I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And so I get on his wheel, and then I'm taking a pull, and then, or not a pull yet. I'm just on his wheel, and there's a couple people behind, and then he kind of peeled off. And then I just kept that same pace, got out of the saddle, went for, 5 or 10 seconds. And I looked back, I'm like, oh gosh, there's a big gap here. And then I kept going a little bit longer. I'm like, the gap got bigger. Those guys, dang it. I can't not attack now.
Right.
So I kept going, and sure enough, I was able to gap everybody, and kind of ended up riding a lot harder in the first half than I was hoping to. But it was a lot of fun. It was kind of cool to see that. And then we did the second half, and again, rode pretty strong in the second half. Didn't get dropped, hung with everybody, and had a good time. So no cramps either. So
wow.
Didn't have to get the sag support. So
it's so good to hear you tell ride stories, Jake. It's been
fun. Yeah.
It's been too long.
And
so.
even for that ride, it was the full ride. And this is including me, coasting, pretty much almost coasting down to the ride, and just kind of bebopping around in the parking lot and going over and doing like this, that, and the other, and talking to people. And then you do the full ride. And then I did not go down to the parking lot to finish. I peeled off and went home and just kind of took it easy. The collective ride with all of that stuff included, my normalized power was almost 310. So again, feeling good. So the numbers are going in the right direction.
How's the hip reacting to all of this?
Pretty good on the most part. It's I'm dealing with it being a bit sore, and I do feel like I've had this constant knot in my quad, but I've been taking the time to stretch and been doing a lot of the foam roll stuff, and just trying to be proactive about that. As long as I do that, I'm feeling pretty good.
Good.
So
That's great.
I just need more time to ride more. That's all.
Right.
So, anywho, I don't think you guys need to hear anything else from me other than loving it, riding outside, having fun, and it's I'm stoked. Tonight's another vlogging ride, so we're gonna go do that as well. Cool. Ready to move on?
Champ Alley in sports. Champ here.
Champ here.
I will smash your face into a car windshield and then take your mother, Dorothy Mantooth, out for a nice seafood dinner and never call her again.
When are we going to get Dorothy on the podcast?
I love you, Dorothy.
She's rip roaring and ready to go, man.
Sweet. What's up, champ?
All right, so we are in the middle of the Ardennes Classics, the nasty, difficult, cobbled / nasty races that all happen in Belgium and the Netherlands in that area. So we had Amstel Gold race this last Sunday, and it was quite exciting. And something happened that hasn't happened in a long time. Pogačar got pulled back. Mm-hmm. So he had gone off the front and was going, it looked like it was just going to be another Pogačar riding off the front with 20K to go. But there's conflicting stories. He got pulled back by Remco Evenepoel and Matthias Skelmos. So two guys working together pulled him back. And I don't know if Pogačar said he wasn't fading. In one interview, he said he wasn't fading, but that he was riding into a headwind and decided it was going to be too much work to hold it away, and he would rather wait for those two and then try to sprint them, beat them in the sprint at the end. So
he didn't look like he was sitting up.
Right.
Though,
so did he sit up, or was he just really fading?
Well, maybe he did back off a little bit, and if it would make sense. He knows those guys are going to come back up to him, and if he lets them, he's going to want to make them work as much as they possibly can in order to, get gas. If he just sits up and lets them ride back on, then that makes it too easy for him, and they're going to have even more bullets to play at the end of the ride. So he probably did let up, and his letting up, we'll just have to admit that's much different than our letting up, because if he's zone 2ing it at 340 watts like he does,
right,
that could be letting it up.
That could be letting it up.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Regardless, it ended up in a sprint between those three, and Skelmo surprised them both.
You get Pogačar and Remco like sizing each other up, and the other guy's like, I'm still here, guys.
And Skelmos at the end, it was so close, he wasn't sure he won, and his reaction was just like phenomenal. He was beside himself that he actually won this monument race, over Remco and Tade.
He didn't know he won.
He wasn't sure. It took a while
for
them to know. But so that was pretty cool. So then you start to think, okay, is Pogačar human? Can he be pulled back? Is this going to be okay? Does this really make a difference? And then we had Flesh Wallone yesterday. Was that yesterday?
It was yesterday. Yep.
They had Flesh Wallone yesterday, so it's one of those weird Wednesday races. But Flesh Wallone is a big, difficult, long race. It's still 260K or something like that. And Tade actually, he played it perfectly this time. So big, long race. His team was on point. His team was doing great stuff. There is a climb called the Mur de Huy.
Mm-hmm. That sounds right. Yep.
And they do it 3 times, and it's a difficult climb. It goes to like 18% or something like that.
Yeah, that's huge.
And they do it 3 times, and the third time up, it's just past the top of that where the finish line is. And Tade didn't try to like break off earlier. He waited.
It worked out perfect. They played it just right, because Brandon McNulty ended up getting up to the front and started pushing the pace and kind of kept everybody in check and just set him up on a silver platter to explode and come around. And he just gapped everybody so quickly. And they were all just spent at that point in time. So good on McNulty for wearing people out.
Correct.
Can't wear out Tade, evidently. And he did his thing. And so that was the end of the race.
Yeah, he ended up winning. It was only like 5 or 6 seconds, but he didn't like do this huge breakaway. But
it's cool to see Pitcock on the
Pitcock was
there
third.
Too. Yeah,
yep. Pitcock was doing well in Amstel too, but just kind of faded. Remco was right in there again. I tell you what, Remco coming back from his injury, it has made the racing more exciting.
He looks surprisingly good right now. And did you catch the race last week where he beat Wout van Aert in a sprint?
He did out sprint Wout van Aert, which was a bit of a surprise as well.
He didn't come around Wout. Wout played it perfectly. He was sitting on his wheel, and Remco's like fishtailing side to side and like trying to look over, waiting for Wout to come around. And he decided, right, I need to go now. He got out of the saddle and rode Wout off his wheel.
Wout actually had to sit back down and then stand back up and try to re-kick.
Yeah. I mean, he maybe wasn't feeling it, but you can't say that. I mean, Remco beat him handedly. Straight up, rode him off his wheel. That's an awesome feeling for him.
Pretty exciting that he has come back like that. And it looks like it's somebody that can actually stay with Tade in different situations.
I'm so happy to see him back. It's a big infusion into the racing. It's no longer just the Pog and MVP show. Have somebody else in contention.
Yeah, it's
exciting.
Yeah, so the Ardennes
things
Classic,
more dynamic. Yep.
have been pretty exciting. So the women's races were great too. The women's Flesh Wallone was won by Puck Pieterse, who out sprinted. Who did she out sprint? Demi Vollering.
Oh wow!
And Eliza Longo Borghini. So it ended up being like a 2-person sprint between her and Vollering, and she out sprinted her. So wow, good on you, Puck. So exciting racing. It's this springtime with the Belgian classics are just like fantastic. And we have this Sunday, what's the race? Liège-Bastogne-Liège.
That's a good one.
One of the longest running races that's been around. It's been around for like 120 years or something. So kind of exciting. And everybody's going to be there. Remco will be there. Tade will be there. Well, Vanderpool's done. He's actually shifting to mountain biking for the year. But all pretty exciting. Other racing news, what else happened? We had Levi's Gran Fondo. And why would I bring that up? It seems weird that I would bring up Levi's Gran Fondo, but he has put on this race in Napa Valley region of Northern California for the last couple years, and he has managed to attract every big name road rider that is not in Europe to come to these races. And part of that reason is because the course is extremely difficult. 140-ish miles, just under 14,000 feet of climbing. So not easy, but a huge prize purse, $25,000 to the winner.
Wow.
Money goes like 10 people deep.
We should go down and do that
We should
next
go
year.
down and do that.
We'll split the 140.
And
you lead me out.
Perfect. And it's a full on road race. This is a road race. It's not gravel, and all these big name gravel guys have showed up because those are like the strongest road riders that we have in the U.S. right now.
That slots in well for their training too.
It does. Yeah, especially we've got the next big gravel race coming up is Unbound, and that is like 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away, something like that. So
who's going? Anyone from our team?
To Unbound?
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah. Last year we had 3 of us. I don't think any of us are going this year.
It's kind of nice to, as a team, almost decide like, not this year, maybe next year.
It was a much better experience because we had teammates.
Yeah.
And we got to experience together. So anyway, the Levi's Gran Fondo, guess who won? Just take a wild stab.
Mr. Swenson.
Yeah, Keegan Swenson. And he didn't win it easily. He Matt Beers and him pulled the breakaway back and caught the guy with 1.2K to go, under a mile to go.
Wasn't a younger guy too that kind of got away from everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. Riding solo for a long time.
Yes. And they pulled him back, and Keegan was able to out sprint him at the end for a $25,000 check. So pretty freaking.
Just a few minutes shy of 6 hours on the rivet like that. And did you happen to catch the video, the post ride cool down video or whatever that they're calling it? But Alexi Vermillion.
Yeah, Alexi and
did you watch
Keegan,
that?
I did watch it.
And Matt De Beers was on there as well. He's 80 kilograms.
Yeah, he's big.
Big dude. Did you hear when they were talking about the watts that they were putting down?
Yes.
And talking about FTPs, and he wouldn't out and out say exactly what it was, but he's riding over an hour over 500 watts.
Get out of here. Really?
Over.
That doesn't make sense.
Yes. He's 80
He's
kilograms.
that
He's
strong.
a big dude. And you watch him ride. He's that freaking strong.
Alexi asked him straight out, what's your FTP? Tell us what your FTP is. And he was like, I don't know. It's something like 470. And Alexi's like, no.
And they're all pointing their thumb up in the air, going
It's
up, keep
higher
going.
than that.
And
It's
he's
more
like,
than
all
that.
right. Yeah, it's over 500. Can you imagine?
I can't imagine.
Jeez.
So, pretty
You know what else I loved about that video? Is what they're eating for breakfast. I had no idea that the pros were just piling it on with the pancakes and lots of syrup. I'm like, really?
That's been a Keegan staple for years.
Yeah, but
pancakes.
they were all talking
They're
about
all-
it. Yeah, and he does pancakes, but he also does cream of rice. I think that was the other thing that he said he mixed in there. But I'm like, I'm going to give that a shot.
Yeah,
I'm
pancakes
always
and
trying to
syrup.
keep it clean and healthy. And no, let's just top off those glycogen stores and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. Lance and I were talking about that video that Evenepoel Remco put out on YouTube as well, and how
That was
much
last year.
Was it last year?
It was last year.
Anyway, he did this one particular day. He was out for a 7-hour training ride, but the amount of calories and the amount of those calories that came from just basic sugary foods like candy bars and Haribo and all kinds of things.
He ate like 7,000 calories that day, but he was on his bike for 4 hours. So that
7
was
hours, yeah.
Or 7 hours. Pardon.
Crazy. And well, the last thing too is just the number of kilojoules that they put into the ride, which is kind of equivalent to the calories that they're putting in. What was De Beers? He wasn't close to 7,000 or 8,000.
I think so.
And the other guys were all 4,500.
De Beers put in,
Big dude, lots of watts and lots of energy.
Too much
output.
fun.
Yeah.
So lots of racing happening, lots more racing coming up. It's all exciting. Champ out.
Thanks, champ. All right, let's move on.
I did it with nothing but my own blood, sweat, and tears, and extra blood.
People dope. Yeah.
You know, this is a sport with literally hundreds of dollars on the line and dozens of fans. The stakes are medium.
Come on. How do you beat the man on drugs if you don't?
Lance likes his steaks medium.
Wait, did you just admit to being on drugs?
The EPO Chain Mail. Send us a text with your questions. Forward this podcast to 15 people, and you'll lose 10 pounds overnight without even trying.
Heyo.
You've got mail.
Sweet. We actually got one EPO chain mail sent in to us. And then I was telling you beforehand, I'm like, I could have swore there was another one, but I'm like, it literally just dawned on me that the other person actually sent us an email to our info@dialedcycling.com email. So I'm going to pull that up here. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Guys, talk about something. Buy me some time here, right?
Oh, man.
Sorry. Anyway, well, I'll come back to that in a bit. We'll maybe finish up with that later on. All right, let's just jump into the one that did come through the proper way. And the question was from a listener in San Francisco, California. They said, do you have a story about the best day or worst day on a bike that would be entertaining or educational for listeners to hear? That's a really good question. As a matter of fact, it's going to tie into some other things as well. But I figured we'd just share around the table and let the listeners know like a really good story or a really bad story that's either educational or entertaining.
The thing that comes to mind initially is a really bad story. And I may have told this before, but it was my experience at the Gorge Gravel Grinder like 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, where, I decided to do the long race because that's where all the cool people and that's where all the fast people race. They all do the biggest, longest race. And so I did the Gorge Gravel Grinder. It was called the Gorge Gravel Grinder back then. Now it's called the Gorge Gravel Race because Brad Chadsbury's trying to kind of rebrand a little bit.
Gorge Roubaix, I think, wasn't it? Gorge Roubaix?
It wasn't. It was after that.
Why is he rebranding?
I don't know.
Because he wants to do different stuff with it, like have some options.
It's not really rebranding. He's just not calling it the Gorge Gravel Grinder. He's moving away from calling it a grinder. I don't know why he doesn't call. He doesn't
probably
want to call
because the Grinder app.
It may be because of the Grinder app,
which I think is the swipe, but it's like for gay gentlemen. I don't know. Is that?
Yes, you do know, Matt.
I mean, I don't know. Let me just check my phone because I got it right here
to see how it actually works.
Let me just pull it up.
Regardless, so I was doing the long course, and it ended up being a terrible wet and windy day. And it, it was like 102 miles, and it was so bad that the long race, the 100-mile race, only had like 12 or 15 finishers. It was that bad. There were people being pulled off with hypothermia. It got that bad.
Yeah.
And I just kind of hung in there, even though the last like 40 miles were just complete misery. It was raining. It was nasty. It was wet. My glasses got so fogged and nasty that I had to take them off because I couldn't see, right?
Yeah.
But I'm following wheels where
you're getting stuff.
Where I get stuff in my eyes and my vision started to go. This is the first experience where I ever had where my vision like faded during a ride. And I remember clearly, we were still doing like 25 miles an hour down this like,
you're like
2%. And I'm sitting 2 feet off of the wheel in front of me and I couldn't see very well.
Yeah. This is like the scariest part where you're like, oh, I was being stupid. It's where you're like, I couldn't see. Like this happens to me, and maybe we'll talk about it. But like you're in these rides or whatever, and you're like, I can't see, and I'm going whatever it is, 25 miles an hour. Like that's just berserk.
We finished the race at 102 miles, whatever it was. I remember I went to my van, and I changed out of my wet clothes. And I went to go get the free meal that was included at where the race was, and I'd parked like 2 blocks away, and I walked straight into a street sign. Because my vision was so bad. And I had to I'm like, I'm not going to get food. Forget this. I got to go lay down because this is not right. I remember I had to call my wife and say, I'm not sure I'm going to come home tonight. I might have to sleep right here in the van where I'm at because I can't see good enough to drive. And I think it would be...
Just goes blurry or dark?
It went blurry. It went blurry. And I had to lay there for like 4 hours before I could see well enough that I could actually drive home. And the ride broke me. Seriously. It was after that I said, I'm not doing long courses anymore.
Yeah.
I don't care if it is perfect weather or great. I just know that I have vision issues longer than 5 or 6 hours. And so, and that was like a 7-hour race, 7:20, something like that.
That's a good ways.
And so I realized, and since then I have not done a long course. If I went to Steamboat, I didn't do the long course. I went to Unbound twice. I did not do the long course. I've done Gorge Gravel Grinder 5-6 more times since then. I don't do the long courses on those days because it actually broke me. I don't know if that's a good story, but
it's not. It's a horrible story.
it's what comes to mind immediately when somebody says, "Do you remember a ride that wasn't so good?" And that was it. I wouldn't have kept going if I was just on a ride. I would have bailed, but it was a race, and so I'm like, freaking race brain.
Race brain.
I think races have the potential to be the worst rides because of that, because you have this feeling like, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. I don't want to DNF this.
Right.
Like I have a similar story for when we did Kings Valley Road Race a long time ago. Jake knew I was going to say this.
Oh, this is one of my favorite stories ever.
It got so cold. I'd made the decision I was going to get warm from the exertion, right? So I just had my jersey on. I didn't put any rain gear on. It was raining when we started the race.
No base layer either?
Yeah, maybe a base layer. I don't know. It didn't matter because it just got freezing cold.
Oh, yeah.
And you're trying to sit in the wheels, and the spray from other people's wheels made you colder and colder. And anyway, I did finish up the race, but I was hypothermic. I mean, I wasn't just shivering at the end of the race. I was shaking. My limbs were shaking so badly. And I remember trying to get my jersey off, and one of the pins for my number. So I did have an underlayer. Mm-hmm. My racing number was stuck through my jersey to my base layer, and I couldn't get it off. And I was just like in my car going, trying to say some profanity, and it wouldn't come out. I was like,
You're so
it was
cool.
more like, I'm like, Ian, calm down, buddy. I got you. I'm here. I'm going to help you. And Ian was just beside himself, so pissed off and so cold, and could not for the life of him stop shivering. And it was big, giant
ice cream sandwich.
Yeah. So
miserable.
Yeah. We still chuckle about that to this day.
But those rides have been few and far between. You know, we had actually a similar experience at Banana Belt Road Race 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
It was almost as cold, but I don't know. Anyway, that's been balanced out by many hundreds of beautiful, great rides with friends in the sunshine. So anyway.
How about you, Matt?
I got one for you. I've got a really good ride was in Whistler, the Ironman Whistler race in Canada. Really bad ride, different year, Whistler, Canada, Ironman.
It's the same course.
So what's funny is this one year I went up there and I was like, oh, this, it's summertime. Like you just don't think about bringing cold stuff at all. So I go up there just expecting it to be perfect weather, like it is down here, right? It never checked, it never registered in my mind that it might be horrible up there. And it was, and half the field drops out. You see all these ambulances everywhere, just picking people up. Because hypothermia, right?
It was a thing, yeah.
Hypothermia, and it was sleeting when the race started, and you're good when you're climbing, but you come down these mountains, right? And so you're coming down for 10 miles of just downhill, and you want to go fast because you're racing. But it's also you're just miserable. So it's one, you guys have felt this too, where you're you're going downhill and you're I don't want to go faster, and I'm in a race.
Right.
That's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
The one thing that I thought was smart that I did was I took a plastic trash bag and put it underneath my jersey. And that was actually pretty helpful at keeping you warm because that plastic layer didn't have a lot of wind penetration or water penetration. It was good. And then I could take it out when I climbed up the mountain on the way home or whatever. So there's some good things in there, and it did warm up over the 5 hours I was racing on the bike, so that was something. But man, there's just so many people that just didn't make it. But the previous time that I had raced Whistler, it was like gorgeous, sunny, like perfect weather, and and it was just one of those days where you're like climbing around in the mountains all day and like having a good race and having fun. It was just like such a gorgeous. I mean, the great days are easy to like think about too. But yeah, so it's funny that like it's all about the weather, right? It's like the weather makes these rides miserable, and they tend to be races because when they're not races, you can be like, this is not the day. Like this is not the day to go for 100-miler or whatever. This is the day to be like, got out for an hour instead of 3 hours like I was going to because the weather was gross.
Right.
I don't know. Jake?
I think one of my more memorable, there's lots of races out there and there's a lot of good stuff. Even Barton Park, for instance, I've got 2 fantastic stories, actually 3 great stories from there. But I'll table that for just a moment. I think one of my most memorable things, though, was the first time we went to a team training camp. And this was something that Michael Myers brought to my attention. You've always heard about training camps. I'd just never gone on one. You know, I'd never really even been, I mean, I'd been on a road cycling team the year prior to us starting Dialed Cycling, and we, the Dialed Cycling team. So I did that in 2016, 2017 was our first formal year as a team, and we did our full race season. It was a blast. Going into 2018, Michael came to me, he's like, hey, what do you think about doing a team training camp? And we go down to Palm Springs. I'm like, that sounds amazing. He's like, awesome. He's like, I've already kind of planned it all out. I was hoping you'd say yes. One of those things. He's like, come on over to my house and we'll sit down and we'll kind of, I'll run you through it. So went over to his house. He's got this whole presentation, already put together. He's got all the routes planned out. And he's like, all right, and this is, I was already, looking at a couple different places, but I think Palm Springs is going to be the best bet for us. And I've already found all these houses and I think this one's going to work the best for us. So he'd already like done this whole thing.
He already planned it out.
And as a matter of fact, he probably would have gone by himself if that's how it would have broken down. And then we got to the part where here are all the routes that we're going to do. And this is the collective total for the week. And went, oh my Lord, are you kidding me? And like, it's going to be a week long. We're going to do over 500 miles of riding and it's going to be close to 30 hours on the bike. I was like,
how many people can actually do that?
I'm like, he's like, you could do it. I promise you. He's like, I've done these before and you'll come out so strong and fast and everything. I'm like, dude, I don't think I've ever done more than like 15 hours in a week or maybe close to 20. Maybe the year prior to that when I did STP for the first time, that's Seattle to Portland. And that's that was 10 hours on the bike alone. And there was some other stuff on top of that. But I'm like, really that hard? And he's like, yeah, every day's got a purpose. Every day's going to have like a specific kind of route so we can work on different things. I'm like, all right, I'm going to take your word for it. And then we went down and we did it. And I came out the backside. I'm like, that was utterly fantastic. And he was right across the boards. And I was, no joke, I was super proud of myself for getting through that and actually coming out on the back end stronger than I started the week. Every single day built on the next day, built on the next day. I mean, around day 2 or 3, you do get a little bit fatigued, but all of a sudden you kind of break through and you're like, wow, I feel really good. And you're putting down really good numbers and just keeps building on it. And you get on the backside and you're like, we went over 500 miles this week. And I think it ended up being like 27 or 28 hours on the bike. Like that was great. So that is something that I've told, countless people, like try going to a training camp. It doesn't have to be that massive, but challenge yourself and you'll be amazed at what your body can accomplish and how strong and fit you will come out on the backside. And if you can learn how to, train for that, go do that, and then come out of that and know how to use what you've just gained, you're going to make some really significant gains. So
it did have a good structure to it, that training camp, didn't it? It did, each day built on the last, as you said. And it was probably the last training camp where we actually put in a proper rest day or a proper easier day in the middle.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in there with Mike on the back, trying to keep it to like 150 watts.
Yeah.
Like trying to keep heart rate down. It was a rest day. And then we all went for a massage in the afternoon. It was great.
That was so nice.
Yeah,
for sure. So, I mean, it's, that was just a great experience for me. And I think it's something that everybody should try and experience at some point in time in their life.
Cool.
You guys got any other, stories?
Well, we should probably tell like good ride stories too.
Go for it. Yeah.
No.
Me and Ian would probably fight about this because we probably both have the same ride.
You tell it.
Okay. One of the best days I ever had on the bike was just in January when we were in Tenerife, where we did the Mosca loop. And it was a long, difficult day. It was 75 miles and almost 11,000 feet of climbing. But the island of Tenerife is so gorgeous and unique, and the roads are in such good shape. And this loop around this little tiny town of Mosca is difficult to describe how beautiful it is. And so it wasn't just the beauty of this ride, but the fact that I'm there with two of my closest buds, with Ian and Chris Surratt, the three of us all riding together. And then on top of that, I had like magic legs that day. And it was day 4 of 7 days of riding that we were doing, or something like that, or 6 days of riding. And man, my legs just felt even great. So not only was it this long, difficult day, but I felt great. The weather was phenomenal. The views were incredible.
I remember so clearly this moment of zen, where we were halfway up that climb, and I looked over my shoulders, and Chris was on one side and you were on the other, and nobody was talking to each other. We were all just kind of breathing in rhythm and saying nothing and working, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful time.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. Yeah. That was a very good day.
Cool. So you're both
Probably.
collective. How about you, Matt? You have any like best days on the bike that you can remember?
Definitely enjoyed, like you mentioned, training camps, and I remember the one training camp that I was on. We did like I think we kind of call it like a queen stage or whatever, and it was like 100 miles, and I just felt good that day. It was fun. It's funny that like the last day of training camp, you've been biking pretty solidly for 5, 6, 7 days or whatever, and then you're like, still can crank out 100-miler and that be your best ride of the week.
Yeah.
And it was a gorgeous ride, of course. It was just California, good weather. It was February or whenever it was, February, March, whatever it was. And it's like, oh, and we're still down here having great weather. And we just had, I think Hanel maybe did he put the ride?
Probably.
Put the routes together.
Yeah, probably.
Just amazing routes.
Yeah.
So super fun.
Yeah, that time of year down in California is beautiful. You get the bright blue skies. The temperature's usually around 70, 72. And then you've got like the hillsides are green, but you've got the California poppies popping up. So it's a beautiful place to be.
And then I think you and I went and grabbed like a Mexican Coke afterwards.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was like, we got to do a couple more miles to finish out 100.
Yep.
And then it was like, then you have to climb home, which was straight up like a 2-mile hill or something. It was really steep to get back to the house.
We were talking about this the other day. How much? Were you at that house?
1,400 feet.
1,400 feet? I was remembering like 2,000 feet, and somebody corrected me. Like, I think it was closer to 1,000. I'm like, I don't know. So
it hurt.
Almost split the middle, but yeah.
It hurt so bad. It was like, because I mean, after 100 miles, I was like, I don't remember what exactly we did, but it was a lot of elevation also.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, okay. I felt really good. And it was like, okay, this last climb. I was like, all right, I'm done.
I think I personally finished with 111 miles
you felt
that
good
day.
That day too.
Yeah, and I think my elevation gain was like 11,000 feet or something like that.
Right.
So it was pretty good. It was, it was an ouchie day.
It's funny that like we all had different numbers because we all kind of did slightly different routes because you're out there for so long, you're kind of just doing all kinds of different stuff, and we had different groups of people heading in different directions, and people are waiting for people. I mean, it was just it sounds bad or chaotic, but it was quite fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
I know at the end too, on that particular day, we have the team competitions. And so people are trying to win the sprint aheads or the most aggressive or the best climber. What were the other ones? Oh, maybe overall or something like that. So everybody was trying to like secretly try and like pad their stats a little bit. So, and that was what I was personally doing as well. It's like everybody's back at the house and I'm out there like, all right, I got to go find another like 500 feet or 1,000 feet of climbing. So I'm doing all these extra climbs and all that other stuff, but I don't know, it was all for naught. I didn't win anything. Just you're an idiot. That's it. Personally, for me, I guess I will tell a great story on the bike, and it was Barton Park. I mean, I've got a few really good race stories that had some good results, but those in particular were pretty memorable. 3 different races, 3 different like outcomes, 3 different things that happen there. And I think I'll throw in the one in the middle. And it was basically like, it was a roller coaster. It was highs and lows. And it started out where I wasn't even going to get to do the race. I was bummed about it because we had friends in town visiting us, and they were going to be flying out that day, but I didn't want to jet and like say, all right, I'm going to go do a bike race. See you guys. That would have been poor form. So I pretty much just wrote it off. So everybody was going to go down there, go do the race and whatever. So we're out doing our things, and I think we're at Voodoo Donuts in Portland. And then they're like, hey, we think we're going to just go ahead and go to the airport now. The kids are kind of worn out, and we'll hang out, and it'll give us a chance to kind of decompress, and we can go have lunch. I'm like running numbers in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And I told my wife, I'm going to go do this bike race. She's like, what? I'm like, I can barely make it. She's like, all right. So we dropped them off, and at the airport, we hightail it home. And I'm trying to crunch in my head, like how long it's going to take there, all the different parts and pieces that need to be, in place. And I hadn't been on the bike in like 2 days or something like that because, again, friends in town. So I get home and I basically run in the front door, start throwing all the stuff into my race bag. I go grab my bike, I grab all the things, and I get in the car and I'm like, see ya. And I chirp out and get on the road. And I'm probably 15, 20 minutes out, getting ready to turn on the old 205 South. And I just had this sinking feeling in my stomach. I'm like, I think I forgot my shoes. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I forgot my shoes. I pulled the bag up and I look, and sure enough, it's not there. So I remember like I called, it might've been like Michael or somebody else. And they're like, oh, and then one of our teammates, Chris Wireman, chirps up. He's like, I got a spare pair of shoes. You want to wear my shoes? We're about the same size. I'm like, yeah. So hightail it down there. I'm like, all right, this is going to work. And I still hadn't registered, right? So I get there and I have to run up, get myself registered, run over real quick to the thing, get the shoes. And Chris and all the other guys are like, hey, the race is about ready to start. You got to hurry. I'm like, all right. So they all roll over and they're doing the pre-race prep. I get the shoes on. I put my number on. I'm ready to go to clip in. I'm like, oh no.
The clips are different.
He's got Shimano cleats. I've got Look pedals. They didn't work. The cleats are too big. I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. And right at that point in time, they're like, all right, we're about ready to start. And then Robert Cummins looks over at me and goes, I've got some, what did he have? He's like, I got some Shimano pedals. No, what was it? No, he's like, I've got the cleat that you need for your shoe. So that's what it was. Like he had a Look cleat. So something like that. But anyway, we had to like undo everything off my bike. And if it was the cleat or the pedal, I can't remember now. I have to go back and remember this, but we had to change all that stuff out. And right as he comes back up and we're getting ready to start this, they blow the whistle and they roll out. It's neutral start though. They roll out. So the time's ticking. The race has started. All right. I'm like, well, I can do this. I can still do this. It's neutral rollout. I'll just make it happen. And we finally get everything done. I get the cleats on and get them adjusted and clip in, and I'm off and running. They're like, I roll up to start. I'm like, is it too late? Can I go jump in? They're like, the race started 8 minutes ago. I'm like, can I go? And they're like, yes. And so I'm like, all right. I just got after it and started like time trialing mode. And they do the Barton Park. And at the time, I believe this was the second year I did it, and they dropped it from 8 laps down to 6 laps. So usually when they drop laps down and it's a little bit shorter, the race can be a little bit more spirited. It's going to go a little bit faster because people aren't going to conserve energy quite as much. So I'm like, I've really got to hustle to catch on. I did a full lap, still didn't see them. Did another full lap, and there were some people on the thing, and I'm like, how far up are they? They're like, you're not too far off. I'm like, all right, another half lap, and I could see them. And I remember I come sprinting up as fast as I possibly can, and they're just getting to the Eden wall, and I just kind of like caught them on the wall. I had to work hard as they were going up the wall. They weren't attacking, thank God. And I rode up into the back, and teammates looking like, holy, you made it. You're here. We didn't think you were going to start. I'm like, yeah, you have no idea. I just time trial for like 2.5 laps, which I don't know, was something like an hour or something like that. Way too many watts, right? So I get in there and I'm like, all right, just sit in and, regroup and get your energy back up. And I did that. So we did like a lap or two, and I didn't really do too much. I'm like starting to settle down, starting to feel a little bit better. And then it's time to start doing some work. I didn't have aspirations for myself. I wanted to help teammates. So we get in there and I start doing some attacking, start doing some pulling, and we start to get ourselves in good position, and the field's kind of thinning a little bit. And we get to the second to last lap. So it'd be the second to last time going up the Eden wall. I'm pulling people up the wall, and we get close to the top, and all of a sudden I feel this clunk, clunk. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I've got a flat tire.
Is this where the finish is at the top of the hill?
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
So field rides away from me. One of our teammates rides, I've got neutral wheels in the car. Throw my wheel on there. I'm like, all right. And then neutral car rolls up and says, what you riding? And we got the wheel, put it on there. And at that point in time, it was like 5, maybe 6 minutes had passed. And so get back into frigging good old TT mode, start hammering it again. And I knew I wasn't going to catch him, but I'm like, I can still try and do my best. Don't give up. And I see a person. I'm like, I'm going to pick that person off. Mission accomplished. Ding. Like, next person, try and catch them. And I remember we cut all the way back around, and there's that long straightaway where you can kind of see up the road before they go do the Eden Wall. And I could see them up there. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to cover that. And then there's no way I'm going to be able to get up the wall because they're all going to be attacking each other. But just try and pick off as many people as you possibly can. And I ultimately did pick off a few people. I think I finished, I don't know, like 11th, 12th, 13th place overall. But it was just one of those things where it was like up and down and up and down. And it just taught me just like, don't ever give up. Just keep going.
Yeah.
But,
good memories.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of funny just rolling up there and people knowing that you hadn't been there for God knows how long. And they're like, where did you come from? So, good times. Wow. All right. Well, anything else on that front? No.
Yeah, you should come and do it again.
Come do the Barton Park. Yeah. I did find that other thing, but I think that this one is going to be a question that's it could be a whole entire podcast. I'm going to put a pin in this one. So if you're listening and you know who you are, we will get to your chain mail next week. On that note, the topic for the week, and it kind of, plays off of what we just talked about a little bit, but it's a little bit more broad. How has cycling enriched your life, and how's it detracted from your life? What are the goods and the bads that your life has, seen from cycling? That's a
big question.
Really big question, because I'd have to say that it has had a pretty profound impact on a lot of us.
Detractions. It takes a lot of time to bike. Like cycling takes a lot of time.
It does.
And I think it's tough when you have family stuff,
mm-hmm.
when you have like little kids and things like that, and you're like, I'll be back in 6 hours.
Right.
Like,
let me ask you a question though. What other hobby would you be into that takes a fraction of the time that gives you as much enjoyment?
Watching kids swimming is a huge hobby of mine.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. No.
But what's a bigger time suck?
Oh man, they're both big time sucks. But like, yeah, I think all hobbies are time sucks in a lot of ways. But there are hobbies, even running in comparison. Like you're training for a marathon, which is a pretty big undertaking. Your longest stuff is 3 hours. Like cycling, that's not
right.
That's pretty standard, like a 3-hour ride. And you're only doing that those 3-hour runs, maybe 4 times a year or something like that. And that's, and some people don't ever do 3-hour runs.
Mm-hmm.
So like cycling, it's like similar situation. It's just times 2 basically. So it's like, a 6-hour day. You only do a couple of those per year, maybe. I don't know. Like everyone's different, but like it's twice as long. It's
mm-hmm.
on the scale of hobbies and how much time they're detracting from your life. It's like cycling is twice as long as some other hobbies.
Sure.
So that's my 2 cents on.
If there were no
one
such
negative
thing as riding and running, what would be your go-to? What would be the thing that you would really
hard
lean
drugs?
into? Hard drugs?
Yeah. Definitely cocaine. No. Well, I like swimming. I mean, I feel like I feel like I have a good swim team that I like to train with, and I definitely every time I swim, I'm like, I gotta start getting in here like much more frequently if I want to be faster and more competitive. And it's fun to do stuff, and they do races and stuff. I don't ever really like swim races, but so if I wasn't doing running or cycling or swimming, I don't know, maybe something more like photography or something like that would be a really cool hobby.
That's kind of what I was hoping. Not hoping. That's
I mean,
a great
obviously
one to say.
I
I was thinking like something outside of like endurance sports,
right?
So.
Yeah, I mean, I love videography, obviously, and
how much time do you spend editing? Is that a hobby of yours? Is that more like a?
It's more of a job at this point.
Side
like I spent like the
time.
past 2 days editing this video that went live this morning, and it's just like that. It was just like a stupid amount of editing for what it was, but yeah. So it was a hobby. Now it's kind of a job, and I think photography has a slightly different vibe to it. Like there are things that I want to do. Like we have like owls come to our back force all the time.
Awesome,
and I'm like, oh, I really need a specific lens to do this. But like, this would be super cool to just like maybe birding or something weird like that. Right. Like this is what old people do. And I'm getting quite old. Like, wait a minute.
You know, that's funny that you
red
mentioned
canary.
You mentioned that, and I can remember just up until like 2 or 3 years ago, I'm like, you automatically associate that with old people. You know, just like walking around, and you can you can close your eyes and visualize and see exactly what they look like. And of late, I'm like, that actually kind of sounds kind of nice. I know. You get to be outdoors. You get to go for walks, see cool things, take pictures of stuff.
Binoculars. Getting your binoculars out. What is that? What kind of bird is that? I don't know anything about birds, but I'm going to.
It's a good point there, right? I mean, there's costs involved in cycling. If you do enough of it, costs in terms of I would be better off financially if I didn't ride a bike all the time. There's costs involved.
Unless
but the
you're
real
doing
cost,
something else like drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, true. But the opportunity costs, you know, what could you otherwise be doing if you weren't cycling? There's like I used to be a climber. I used to get into mountaineering. I skied. Other things like, you know, I don't think I would be bird watching, but I'd like to learn to play the guitar or
and so,
foreign language or something. And
here's the cool thing about
I'm turning my pedals around. And,
here's the cool thing about all of those other things is like you can put them down and walk away from a bit and come back and pick it up in a reasonable amount of time. Let's say like a month later, you're working on the guitar. You maybe get a little bit rusty, but if you take a month off from writing, you're like, oh my gosh, how you lose it twice as fast as you gain it. So it's like you don't want to walk away from it for the sheer fact that you don't want to have to work to get back to where you're at, because that process always sucks. And you're like, why did I choose this sport? You know, even though you're outside and it's beautiful, but
yeah, exactly. That's a good point too. That's another bad thing about cycling is you're always under this pressure. Like, oh, I don't want to lose my fitness. I don't want to lose my fitness. I don't want to get injured.
Yeah.
Right. All of this stuff. It's like, what am I going to do with my life if I can't ride now? It's all consuming.
Yeah. There is another way to look at that, though. If you are doing some of these other sports or these other hobbies that don't, you know, have as much to do with like having to be consistent and putting in the time and staying dedicated. I mean, there's a lot of benefits that come from cycling. And I get to see these people on a very, very regular basis come walking through the doors, and they'll tell you like, oh yeah, I'm 70 years old. I'm 75 years old. I'm 80 years old. And they are in fantastic shape. They look good. They look healthy. They look vibrant. And then you look at their peers who are not into being, you know, active or athletic or any of that other stuff. And a lot of them are, you know, they're getting into these morbid states of like they can't get off the couch. They're stuck in bed. They're always hurt. It goes away fast. And if you keep your body, you know, trained and you stay fit and you stay consistent, the benefits far outweigh the other side. So yes, there's an investment, but there's a return on that investment.
Yeah.
There's a good ROI.
But there's also a sweet spot, right? You could be a fit, healthy person through cycling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personally, I've gone beyond that. I reached a good baseline of fitness, but then, you know, like everybody here, we take it beyond that. You want to be the best you can be.
Sure.
And there are diminishing returns the more time you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we do. I find I'm putting all my time into cycling,
loving
it, getting a lot from it, which we'll get to. But like I said, there's opportunity costs. There's things you could otherwise be doing that you're not because you're out riding your bike.
You could also get away, like you mentioned, cost. You could also get away with like a really affordable bike and get really fit doing it. Like I bet for $500, you spend $500 every 5 years. I bet you could get some pretty decent bikes collected and and also be able to ride those bikes and have fun with them and take care of them and all that stuff for pretty affordable. The four of us don't do that. We spend money on bikes. It's going out of style, but yeah, I do think like that in some ways I look at that. I'm like, that's the smarter person there where they're like, oh, they're just cranking on their, whatever it is, you know, their old aluminum bike with rim brakes or whatever. Perfectly awesome bike, does all the things it needs to do, can ride with anyone. You know, it's all about like the person and their training and how many times they're getting out and riding those bikes and using those bikes as opposed to my carbon bike that sits inside my garage. I don't know.
How about you, Hep?
You know, cycling and the whole community of it, it gave me a life, to be honest with you. I mean, I lived this whole entire life before I really got involved very deeply in cycling as a dentist, as a father, as a church person. And when I retired from my job, when I sold my dental office and retired from my job, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I was able to like just completely dive into cycling, and it gave me a life, not just because of the physical, attributes that I get from being a regular rider, by trying to be more fit and trying to be more healthy and trying to live forever, not that everybody's doing that, but that's what you're trying to do. But I started to meet people that I really connected with. I met you people. We got involved with this podcast. We started this show that we've done regularly for 7 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then the deeper you get into it, the more I enjoy it. The cooler people I meet, the better experiences I have. To go ride around Tenerife with my buddies, to go to national parks, and instead of just sitting on the rim of the Grand Canyon, I can do the whole 50-mile ride out along the whole rim of the Grand Canyon.
Immerse
and back,
yourself,
and just dig yourself into it. I talk to I have a lot of old dental friends, obviously, who are still dentists and are still working. And when I see them, they occasionally go, not only, Lance, are you lucky that you were able to retire as young as you were, but you had something to jump into.
Mm-hmm.
What would you have? He goes, I don't know what I would have done if I had retired at 47 like you do. I don't know what I would have done with my life, and what I would have sat there and watched movies or television. You can only, do so much, and you were able to just immerse yourself in cycling and cycling culture and the good things about it, and being involved with the shop and being involved with the podcast and all those things. So it has increased my enjoyment of life tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the health benefits of it. It's the people I've met, and it's the connections I've made. And
do you think more people should retire earlier?
Well, I was extremely lucky.
Well, I know that, but
it gave me, I was able to enjoy things physically that I was able to do because I wasn't 65. Not that, that's old, Ian. But I wasn't 65 when I retired and was on the downslope. Ian is a
freak of nature.
Is a freak of nature.
Yes.
That he is as fit and fast and as healthy as he is at his age. Because people, retire at 65 or 70 years old and physically can't do anything anymore, or are struggling with health issues that keep them from hiking around the valley of Yosemite, because you just can't do it at that age. You drive your RV in and park it and then just look out the window. And,
also good.
Which is better than not being there at all.
Right.
But I was young enough that I could still physically do things that I enjoy. And I mean, I can't thank the people around me enough that allowed me to do that, because it has increased my quality of life immensely. And I think that's really what I'm trying to get to here, is how much my quality of life improved when it was focused on a healthy habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Like, it's not just about fitness and health. It's wellness, and being well is a lot more than just being physically fit. Being well is having, most importantly, a good social life, people you hang out with. And that's been the major thing for me is, before I got into all of this, I probably had one or two friends, I hung out with, went for beer with, it wasn't much. But now, like, I go to PIR on a Monday and I can barely get my warm up in because there's so many people to talk to, and so many good friends and rivals and teammates, and it's this whole world. I just feel better because I've got these people around me. I'm part of this community. I think that's the biggest thing for me, this sense of community and knowing that these people are your friends. You've got this thing that binds you together, and it's very strong. You know, it's it goes beyond being physically fit, but into being well.
Yeah, everything you guys just said. I mean, I couldn't say it any better. For me, another layer to add to that is like I've always loved riding bikes. I've got pictures of me riding bikes since I could barely even walk, and all through my life. And sometimes it's been more, sometimes it's been less. But I can remember like even just in high school, like going for jumping on my mountain bike, and I would go just ride. And people are like, "You're not going to just go ride to somebody's house?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to want to go for a ride." And I would ride it on the roads, and they're like, "Why?" And well, how far did you ride? I'm like, "Oh, I'm 30 miles or something like that." Like, "You rode 30 miles on a mountain bike?" I'm like, "Yeah." It was fun. And like, I had a couple other friends that kind of saw the allure of that. And sometimes we would go do some rides, and that was just a blast. And it's always been like a sense of freedom for me. And it's always just given me so much, and you get to see a lot of things, and it's a lot better than running because you get to go a lot faster and see other things, and just whatever. Running's fun, but you get to see more, go faster.
That's exactly right. Like you see so much when you're cycling.
More.
Yeah.
You get to interact with stuff. So it's always been like in my DNA to love riding bikes. And there have been plenty of times though where it's like I didn't touch a bike for a couple of years because life. There's times where you get married and you have kids and you're just trying to be a parent and a spouse and all those other things, or like you start a business and you're just buried in everything, and maybe some other things are capturing your attention and whatnot. And sometimes those things can kind of start to pile up, especially the business side of things. And what you end up finding is you're working too much, and there's not the right kind of balance in your life. And sometimes you carry a little bit of a little chip on your shoulder. Your attitude maybe needs a little bit of adjusting. And I can always remember like, I always felt good when I was riding, and I would get on a bike and I would just like, if you're feeling frustrated, you feel like the world's kind of like stacking up on you, feeling like your mental health maybe isn't 100%. Back then, it's like nobody talked about mental health, and not that it wasn't a thing, but you kind of just knew inside like, all right, I don't feel right, but I could get on a bike and it always made me feel way better. And so I adopted that. And I do remember there was a point in time where I had another business, and it was, you're going through things like, 9/11 and the 2008 stock market crash and other things that were going on in life. And you're trying to start a business, and that's hard enough in its own right. And you're trying to grow it. And I can remember having like a really big staff of people and all kinds of stuff. And there's just all the stress that you have to carry because you're the person, like, that it kind of ends with you, be it good or bad. But I knew that if I got on a bike, I could go for a ride for an hour and a half, or 2 hours and come back. And it was just like, brand new person, doesn't matter, get out of my way, we're going to make this happen. And that's always been like a calming thing for me, and it keeps you fit and healthy. And I do remember there was a pivotal point where I hadn't been on the bike in a while, and for whatever reason at this point in time, I remember making this, or having this idea. I'm like, oh, it would be really fun to purchase one of these homebrew kits and make my own at-home beer. I'm like, that's kind of cool. And like, you're reading up on it and trying to figure out like all the costs and all that other stuff. And if you're going to do it right, it does actually start to add up. And then I'm like, that sounds awesome. I think I want to do that. But I'm like, do I really want to spend that much money? At the same time too, I was like, I want to get a new bike, because at that point in time, I didn't have a bike. I'm like, homebrew kit or a bicycle? I'm like, you idiot, this is a no-brainer. You know how that makes you feel. And I did. I went out and bought a bike instead and got back to riding. And I'm like, what would have happened to my life if I had chosen not to buy that bike?
Beer makes you feel good too.
It does. I'd probably be about 300 pounds though, and we would not be sitting at this table talking right now.
Fat and happy.
There you go. So, and I remember that was the time where I really started riding a lot. And it was probably when I was close to, 30, 31, 32 years old, and just really fell in love with it and started riding more and more and more. And, ended up, getting fit and healthy and getting a little bit faster, and started doing a little bit of mountain bike racing, which parlayed into riding on the road to get faster mountain bike racing. And it's just, the rest is history. But I just am so glad that I made that decision. Mm-hmm. And then that all like kind of ties into the stuff with you guys. I mean, you get the stuff that it helps you with your mental health and your overall fitness. And then you get to meet some great people. And let's be honest. I mean, what community of people is going to be somebody else that you would want to hang out with other than like people in the endurance community? I was going to say cyclists, but we've got a multi-sport athlete over here.
It's a triathlon podcast.
Exactly. On the whole, though, if you think about it, the people that ride bikes consistently generally have a really good disposition. They're happy people. And I can speak from personal experience being in a bike shop and getting to talk to these people all the time. They generally come in and they're just happy people. You know, they're excited about their bikes. They're excited about like getting an upgrade. They're excited about going for rides and being part of a community, being on teams, being in clubs, and all of that fun stuff. So I love being around those people. That's fantastic. So
I still get a sense of community, even if I'm doing most of my rides out on my own.
Sure.
Through Strava now.
Sure.
It's like some people don't use Strava. I mean, me, it adds to the experience because I get to share what I've been doing. It's kind of a form of social media, but it's focused on this one thing, and there's no BS involved in it, and it works. Like, I'm genuinely interested in what other people are doing on their bikes.
Sure.
I don't care what they had for dinner, you know, and but you get this community virtually as well.
Yeah. I can't say this about any other app. That app has probably affected my life in a positive way more than any other app out there. You're like, that's dumb. It's an app. No, but seriously, that's how I met Lance. Yeah. That's how we all met. That's how we all connected. That's how we found each other. And it's just a beautiful thing. I've been using it since I think 2010 or 11. So 14, 15 years.
Plus your bike ride never really happened anyway.
If it's not on there. Exactly. So, and that was one of those things that was a catalyst. I'm like, oh, I get to see how I compare to other people. I'm like, I'm okay. Maybe I should go race my bike. And so that's why I started looking into bike racing. So it was pretty cool. But what I love about Strava is like you get like this social thing going on here, the social media, without all of the BS of social media that you see on all the other platforms. Exactly. On the whole, it's like you don't really see that, or maybe very, very, very rarely, but on the whole, it's just people just like being happy because they were outside and they were doing a ride or a run or whatever it might be, sharing pictures and videos and riding with other people and making their comments. And it's a happy-go-lucky place in my opinion. And I probably recommend that app. And I'm still surprised at how many people have never even heard of it. I probably, if you average it out for every day of the week, it probably at least once a day, I will tell somebody about that who had no idea that it even existed. Yeah. It's pretty amazing that you get to bring people in there. As a matter of fact, I can tell you the person exactly who it was that I told yesterday. She had no idea, never heard of it before. And a lot of people will come back, thanks, man. That's great. Or like you'll connect with them on there. Then you get to invite them to some rides or like give them a kudos or whatever. So it's just fun.
Yeah, it seems like it's an essential now. What do I need to go to start into cycling? Okay, you need a comfortable pair of bib shorts. You need some shoes. You need a bike. You need Strava.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's part of the whole package these days.
Cool.
I feel so lucky that I found something that is physically, you know, a workout that is not a chore to do. Like I'll go by people on the street who are out jogging. You know, they're not multi-sport athletes or runners, but they're doing it because they ought to do it. They should do it. They feel like they need to do it. It's a chore. Mm-hmm. And I go to the gym a couple of times a week and I see people on the treadmill and the stair stepper, and I think they're just doing it because they feel like they need to do it.
Like, they're hating every step of this.
They're hating it. Like, whereas I can't wait to get back out on my bike.
Yeah.
Right? We finished that ride yesterday and I'm like, I got to take a couple of days off because I need to recover. I'm looking at the weather outside thinking,
I can't take this day off. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah, just like our Tuesday night gravel ride that we did. I mean, I went out and had a blast. It was 2 hours that felt like you were out there for half an hour. And in that time period, I went through over 1,700 kilojoules, which is about 1,700 calories. I mean, how else are you going to have that much fun seeing a bunch of cool stuff, being out there with people and doing work and burning that many calories and come back and like just, oh my gosh, thank you, may I have another, please?
Good point. You can eat Haribo and pizza and stuff and not feel guilty.
Just real quick, because we're getting a little bit long on this one. What are some things, some of the detractions? What are some of the downsides? I mean, I think that the obvious one, Matt, I've started to touch on.
We talked about finances.
Okay, so that one. And just the time commitment. And Ian already talked about that. And for me personally, I've got to be careful that I don't do too much because you've got to keep balance. And my wife will be quick to like, shove that right in my face. Like, you're gone again. You're going to be gone for how long? Or you're going to miss out on this. I'm like, oh yeah. So like finding that balance, that part can be a bit hard. And I've been, I think, better about that. So that's good for family, but almost to a detriment of the cycling. So it's like, you just got to learn how to live with it, I guess.
For sure.
Just got to be like Lance and have kids at
no job. Kids are all gone.
Had his kids at like 15 years old, and they're gone, and he's retired at 30, and yeah, just can ride for his whole life. But no, just kidding.
Like, seems like that's the way to do it.
Any other detractions other than maybe getting hit by cars?
Traffic.
There's that.
There's that. Yeah, I mean, injuries are for real. That's one of the things I definitely think about. I'm like, you don't get hit by cars or anything when you're out running or whatever. And the same kind of for cycling. If you're going on like a gravel ride or something like that, you're like, I'm going to be safe. I mean, you can still crash, but like, you're not going to get hit by a car typically.
It's less likely.
Or you're mountain biking or something like that. It's like you can hurt yourself, but you're not going to run into traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a biggie. Not being injured due to the cycling. If you ride enough, it's going to happen at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jake, you know all too well. I live in fear of crashing and hurting
It's
myself.
just kind of crazy though. Like when you're out there doing it, like you're in your head, you're not afraid of it at all, right? Are you guys all the same way? Do you not think about it? I mean, maybe if somebody like buzzes you or something like that,
when
you'll
you
have
get buzzed. You're like,
it'll be there, but it'll slowly dissipate. But do you guys ever deal with like almost being a little bit afraid to go outside, or you have those like, what if this is the last time I ever leave to go on a ride, or what if this is the last time I'm saying goodbye to somebody?
Yes.
Like that's a real thing for me. So
Strangely, no. Like I don't worry if I just leave my house and get on my bike and go for a ride. I don't generally worry about it. If I'm on my way to a race, I'm petrified. Usually, I got a ton of nerves about it, which is weird, really, because although a race can end in a life-changing crash, the real bad stuff happens when you're out on the public road and you're in the traffic. And, you know, like some of these group rides you're doing, and they get pretty spirited, and you tend to forget that there's fast-moving, distracted people in large, heavy tin boxes. You know,
you guys need to be careful tonight.
that's when the really bad stuff happens. Is when vehicles are involved.
Yeah, I don't
in
think
that.
about that on the flogging rides.
Yeah.
And there's one reason why, because I trust in the Varia probably more than I should. The radar to tell me when a car's coming, and when I see a car's coming, I kind of let off and I make sure to get over. However, I do see a lot of people that do not think the same way.
Yeah.
There's people I don't know. I always feel like I need to pull them over and just have a stern talking with them. Like, hey, what you did right there, that was stupid. And like, you need to like, and I'm not calling you stupid. I'm just like, I'm concerned about your safety and I don't want you to get hurt. There's no reason why you need to be where you were. You saw that the car was coming, and if you didn't pay better attention, get yourself over and make it a safe thing for everybody. But it's neither here nor there. But to your point, though, like when I'm out doing the flogging ride, as long as I've got my radar working and I know it's working, and I do pay attention to that, you've got the audible beep, the colors change, all of the fun things. That tells me that it's like, all right, it's kind of game off, where's Wayne and Garth? And then as soon as the car goes by, all right, game back on, and then you just keep going. So that's just how it is. So cool. Lance,
that's good.
You've got like kind of a straight face over there. You're just soaking it all up.
No, yeah, just soaking it all up. I don't think about the dangers either. I mean, my running joke with my family is you're going to find me dead in a ditch somewhere because I'm on my bike all the time, and the likelihood of getting hit by a car is up there. But I don't want that. I can't live my life in a glass house that I'm afraid something's going to happen.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Just I've always kind of subscribed to that, but then I got hit by a car and it changed me a little bit. Yeah. But it's kind of funny because I will go through those, and I don't want to go on too much more, but I will have those moments where it's like an internal struggle of like, I'm like, we'll just call it what it is, a little bit scared to go out and go for a ride. And you know what? My compromises in my brain when that's really strong, jump on your gravel bike and just go ride in the dirt. Yeah. So that works every single time. So anyway, I love riding on the road though. I absolutely adore it. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's fast and fun. Anyway, all right, let's move on to one last thing. Matt?
Posted a video this morning. Today is the 10-year anniversary that the Apple Watch has been on sale, or it's been on sale for 10 years. So the video itself is kind of like a little bit of like a timeline of when the announcements were made over the past 10 years. They've been pretty consistent. They're like every September, they kind of come up with a new Apple Watch series, whatever. So that's the video and a little bit of history, and then looking forward kind of what we might see in the future. So go check it out. Go check that video out.
No soup for you.
No soup for you.
That was the wrong button. I meant to push this one.
I posted another.
3, yourself.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself to a Matt LeGrand video.
I posted another video maybe since the last podcast. So maybe I posted 2 videos since the last podcast about...
No, you don't get to talk about 2 videos. No soup for you.
It's one last thing. And the other one was the Luna ring, which I don't think the podcast is that interested in. But go check out the Apple Watch video.
Will do.
Okay.
Cool. Gibbo.
Predictably, I'm going to talk about Barden Park Road Race, and I'll probably mention it again next week and the week after, but it's coming up on May the 10th. Everything's looking good. Lance and I were out on the course last week, and there's no road construction. The roads are looking good. Volunteer sheet is filling up. Could use a little help there. Recently heard
we're
from...
short a couple drivers still.
We're short a couple of drivers still, yeah. So aside from that, we're getting people coming in, helping with sponsorship. Got some good prizes lined up. Everything's looking good, but I'm stressing about it.
Who are some of the people that have been sending you goods?
We have Scratch Labs on board.
Nice.
We have ProLogic, is it? Silka.
Was it ProLogic? Well, Silka, is it profile design?
Let's say Silka. Silka on board. Cask are going to help out. Who am I missing?
A few others. Stay tuned. Go check out Gibbo on Instagram.
Yeah, and sign up to race. We'll have the numbers on the day. People will come by, but it sure helps me sleep at night knowing that I'm gonna have all my expenses met.
There you go. Yeah. Support your local race promoter. Yep.
Cool. That's me.
Epler.
The Gorge Gravel Race happens this Sunday, April 27th, out in the Columbia River Gorge in the tiny little town of Doofer. This is the best city name I've ever heard. It's Doofer. It should be a great day. Wind is going to be an issue on the day of the race, but there's still actually spots available to register. This race is sold out traditionally in the last several years, and it has not quite sold out yet this year.
You're kidding me. It did not sell out?
It has not sold out yet. So, and there's 3 race options you can do. There's a small, medium, and large. Saturday, there's a whole bunch of festivities happening the day before. There's shakeout rides. There's a cornhole tournament. There's a fundraiser barbecue. You can go spend Saturday and Sunday out in the gorge, and it should be lovely.
Sweet. My one last thing is Factor Bikes has been cool to work with. I've talked about that before. They just dropped a new bike today. Did you guys catch that?
No.
The Factor Monza. So it's kind of like your everyday racer bike, but it's not that super, supercar, super bike price tag. With the Ostro, those are a little on the expensive side. They're beautiful bikes, but they have like a full force build on this, and it's it's your aero race bike. For $6,999. Sounds like a lot of money, but if you look at what you get for that, that's pretty good value in comparison, because across the boards for a lot of the other brands, if you're going to go, apples to apples, it's about $1,000 more for their bike. So they came in with this bike, and it's pretty stinking awesome.
Nice.
And it dropped today. We have 3 of them, I think, arriving at the lap today or tomorrow. So yeah, they're up on our website.
Tire clearance.
32 or 33, I think. Ooh. Yeah, so there's plenty.
34.
30. Oh, it is 34. Should know that. But yeah, it's a pretty cool little bike. Other than that, not much else. Go race at the Gorge this weekend. Go support Barton Park. Go watch Matt's video. Those are my one last things.
One last thing.
It has a UDH.
It does. It's
Wow.
All right. We do appreciate everybody listening. We'll be back next week with another one of these. And until then, bye for now.
I'm going to throw you now to Weenie in the Butt in the afternoon.
Weenie in the Butt.
97.1.
In the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
Oh my God.
WQHG.
Turn it on and rip the knob off.
You're listening to the radio.